Hi guys, welcome back to Spice Channel TV. The PDP had stepped in deep waters regarding the court judgment on the primary elections in Edo State. And I must say, the judgment focused on the exclusion of the delegates. Now one may wonder what actually led to that judgment by the court on the PDP primary election. Now, a lot of people had responded angrily to the Federal High Court's recent ruling on the Edo PDP primaries. Now, a lot of speculations are being made. Is it that the justice was the justice statement was a calculated attempt to appease some certain parties and to lessen the pressure on the Federal High Court, or was it something else? Now, the members of the Edo State People's Democratic Party Executive Council, including Tony Okegini, have also responded in the same light. Now, according to Tony, Justice ekwo's statement was a calculated attempt to appease some parties and to lessen pressures on the Federal High Court. Speaking in an interview with Arise TV, Tony criticized Justice ekwo's directive for the delegates to participate in another election to be scheduled by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). He highlighted the logistical challenges, stating that all potential dates for a new primary were already occupied, making the implementation of the judgment impractical. This is just the same shenanigans that played out in 2023 by the Dan Obi fashion with some key actors. But then, Justice ekwo is very sure that this judgment will not stand the test of time. And very reasonable persons knows it will not stand the test of time because the PDP is focused on the September 21st elections. Mr. Tony expressed confidence that the judgment would ultimately be deemed unenforceable, emphasizing the court's jurisdiction is a crucial factor. But then, on this case, on this judgment, they know that the court also lacks jurisdiction and then it amounts to nothing. There have been accusations on Justice ekwo of crafting a judgment that was deliberately unenforceable just to relieve pressure on the Federal High Court. It seems that Justice ekwo is very clever and he made the announcement that way because he knows the judgment will not be enforceable. So it's obvious that he's just trying to please them, to please the opposition parties and to relieve the pressure on the Federal High Court, where he told the delegates to go and take part in another election that INEC will fix. And there is no date that INEC can fix for another primary because all dates are filled up. So there is no way the judgment would stand. Because when that judgment came out by the Federal High Court, we looked into it and we saw that in fact, the PDP won't be able to do anything. Not as if the PDP would conduct another primary elections. As expected, because of the complaints of these delegates, the PDP ought to have conducted another primary election since they faulted the conduct of the primary elections held in Benin City at the Samuel Obomundia Stadium. So as expected, even the APC and other opposition parties were hailing the judgment because they felt the People's Democratic Party would conduct another primaries as a result of the complaints from the excluded delegates. But it wasn't so. Now, the Edo people are fast approaching the September 21st elections, and I believe all dates are scheduled, and the PDP wouldn't attempt to conduct another party's primaries because they've stated that the candidacy of Aso Yodalo remains intact, and as such, there would be no need to conduct another primary election in the state, as they are forging ahead, and they said it doesn't matter. The judgment of the court would not affect their candidates. It did not affect their primary election. So it seems that the PDP are good to go in the state. Unlike what other opposition parties had thought that, okay, the PDP would conduct another party's primaries to see to another candidate aside Aswe Iyodalo. So my country people, these are just predictions and thoughts on the court's judgment and why the court would rule in that way. Because if the court was actually targeting the PDP and Aso Yodalo, they would have removed the candidacy of Asu Yodalo. But no, because these complaints were filed by the delegates, and the delegates ought not to have filed these complaints against the PDP, because these are party issues, eternal party issues, and must be resolved within the party. It's not an issue that should be taken to court. The only persons, that should lay a complaint against the PDP are candidates, aggrieved candidates that participated in the elections and felt that, okay, these elections is not credible, so they ought to have filed their complaints. But before now, two PDP primary candidates, that's the governorship primary candidate ahead of the elections, had filed complaints at the court, where they prayed to the court to nullify the candidacy of Asu Yodalo. The first candidate was Philip Shaibu, the former deputy governor of Edo State, but the court kicked out his case, saying it lacks the local standing, no enough evidence to back up his claims on alleged hijacking of the party's primaries, because they also referred him back to the party to go and resolve the issues with his party before approaching the courts. And another candidate also had prayed to the courts to disqualify the candidacy of Asu Yodalo, but the court also kicked the other person's case out, of the door. They kicked it out, refusing to nullify the candidacy of Asu Yodalo as the PDP flag bearer ahead of the Edo State elections. So my country people, it seems that some key persons, some key actors in the PDP are trying to frustrate the PDP from within, and we've been seeing some recent suspensions by the PDP on some persons in Edo State, where they suspended Dan Obi, the South PDP vice chairman. Dan Obi, he was suspended recently by the People's Democratic Party. Also, we saw the suspension of Philip Shaibu and other persons in Edo State from the People's Democratic Party. So, my country people, the PDP are in troubled waters, and they are yet to navigate their way out of this crisis ravaging the party, because it's an eternal crisis. And the earlier they sort out themselves, the better for them, because the opposition parties are always watching for any sign of weakness from the ruling party in the state. And if they sense any weakness, they would use it against the PDP and override them in the state. So guys, these are reactions from Nigerians. The first person said PDP was the benefactor when this type of case was ruled against APC in Zamfara state. And funny enough, then it was after the APC won all the elections. They outsmart themselves in their primary elections. They should blame themselves and not the judge. This is democracy. The rule of law must coordinate the principle. Obaseki is only smart by half. Tell him to go and beg Dan Obi and Shaibu. Corruption is glaring all over the faces of the judges. To me, the judge has delivered so many controversial judgments. I believe this judge has a skeleton on his cupboard that politicians are feasting upon, thereby him culpable by his numerous controversial judgments. Okay guys, these are reactions from Nigerians. So my country people, I'm dropping here. Can